Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video we're going to be talking about Caspa. Y'all tired of hearing it? Just kidding. So this is going to be a GPU mining update video. This is going to be covering pretty much the whole gamut. So we're going to cover the price action that's been going on. We're going to look at hash rates. We're going to look at trends. We're going to look at pricing trends, coins to look at, and kind of where we see the market going. We're starting to kind of get a clearer picture and we're going to talk about it. Right, so if that sounds good, guys, stay tuned and let's get to it. Right, so things have been going extremely good. Right, if we go on hashrate.no, this is on a 3070 at a 12-cent kilowatt hour. A lot of things are profitable. Right, for the longest, not that long, for a couple of months, it was essentially break even or better. So not super appealing for a lot of people. Again, that's my goal. If it's break even or better, I'm in. Right, and that's been pretty much the plan since the beginning of the year, and it's been working, right? Even with my small little 10-card rig and my little FPGAs, it's been doing extremely well, right? Which is just mining, mainly buying though, right? I've been buying a lot, specifically as GPU mineable coins, and it's been an excellent strategy, right? Because we've been having repeats of this trend where we have these crazy run-ups and the crazy downtrends, right? And it looks like it's happening again, right? So as we look at the profitability, there's a lot of crap coins coming back up, and this happened every time as well. Recently, it's these Ghostwriter algo coins. So GamePro X, Reaction, F Society, Vars. These are all Ghostwriter algo coins that just popped up with this pump, right? So pretty interesting there. But as we go down, even our better coins, our Nexas, our, gotta go down, Nuri, Neoxa, Chlor, Iron, and Lithium. These are all profitable even at a 12-cent kilowatt hour, right? So things are looking pretty good there. I mean, they're not insanely profitable, right? But it is the trend we want to see, right? Hopefully we continue this trend this time. Maybe we don't dump. Maybe we'll just remain profitable, but that's the goal, right? So the winners here have been the ones who have been mining when it's break even or better, or buying and then just hodling, and it's been insane, right? So it's a pretty nice run up. This is starting to get very reminiscent of that run we had in March, April. We had pretty similar numbers, right? The 4090 was making something. It was making like $3-4 a day in certain cases. Even right now, revenue-wise, bringing in almost $3, right? So again, we're starting to see links of that March, April run earlier in the year. Now let's look at the price action of some of these freaking coins, which has been insane, right? Nuri being the best example of it. Right, it's now number 518 by market cap. Okay, so this is no longer like a tiny micro cap, right? It's insane. So it's a $45 million market cap, and it's happened so fast, right? If we look at the 30-day, 554%, right? What's actually more impressive is if you go farther back, right? So if you, during any time during this consolidation period, it was at 0.0003 for the longest, right? You had this nice time. You had a couple months actually to buy, right? Even if you threw just $100, even just $50. Okay, it went from 0.0003 to 0.0045. Okay, that's a 15x. So again, even $100, $1,500, guys. Like, it's that insane of a run up. Okay, and that's the benefit you have with these small GPU mineable coins if there is promise there, right? And again, the standout here to me is their emission schedule. If you haven't looked at their white paper, haven't seen any of my recent videos talking about that, look into it. That emission schedule should have you bullish, even if you're not bullish on the project. Like, at the project, not really too big on, right? But the tokenomics, that emission schedule, it's ridiculous. And this is going to be part of the reason. So if you're looking at mining coins, another thing you want to look at is that emission schedule, right? Which one is first to have a halving? Which one has an aggressive emission schedule? Those are the types of things, if you're kind of considering, like, unsure, like what to mine, that should be a tiebreaker for you, right? Because right now, realistically, a lot of them profit-wise are fairly close, right? But my tiebreaker would definitely be coins that are doing that, right? So like Nuri has that aggressive emission schedule. Radiant has their halving coming up in April. Those are the types of things you want to pay attention to, right? So you want to, again, stay ahead of the trends. Be ahead of the game. That's how you come out big, right? So another one's been running up. Nexa is now 394, guys. So another one, huge run up on the 30-day, 321%. right? So you can see the different run-ups here. You can see the March, April run-up, which was insane, right? It's freaking still can 2x to match that, right? So it still has room to run, so very reminiscent of that. It makes that August run look super tiny, right? The August run was pretty nice, but this one has the potential to do this again, right? Especially if we continue this bullish trend all the way into the ETF. Pretty crazy, right? But what we want to keep our eye on, even if you haven't bought, even if you're not mining it, whatever, is to see if this repeat happens, right? Because then at this point, it's just follow that trend, guys. Like if we go up like this and we dump back down, these are the times to be picking up these coins. If you see some potential here, which Nexa is one of the ones, Nexa, Aletheum, those are ones that I'm holding long term, right? When you see these accumulation periods, you could see the potential here. These are the times you want to be accumulating, right? Whether that's the time you want to be mining them, you want to be buying them, however you want to accrue them, those are the times, right? I know we're all bullish now and people are turning on now, but realistically, the ones who benefit are the ones who have been buying during those accumulation phases, the ones who've been mining during that time, right? Because in many cases, depending on your hardware, your electric rate, it's been break even or better. So if you've been able to accumulate, those are the guys who are winning, right? It's not the ones who are just now flipping the rigs on. Right? The time was then. Hopefully it continues. We continue to be profitable. We continue to stack. Again, however you want to do it. But the ones with the greatest benefit are the ones that are mining or buying during these huge, long accumulation periods when nobody wants to touch it. Right? When you see them that low, that's when you want to be jumping on the ones that you see promise on. Right? Not all of them are going to have crazy promise. Not all of them are. But this is why you need to narrow down which ones you do think. Right? So like another one for me, Aletheum. To me, it's tech-wise, it's the best out of the bunch, right? And this is definitely a long-term hold for me. This is another one that on the 30-day, 252%, right? Insane run-up. Okay, even the less popular ones, even like iron. Iron is another long-term hold for me. This is one I've been into from the beginning. I like what they're doing, right? I know a lot of people have their opinions on it, and that's fine, right? This is not to try to convince you to do anything, but this is just giving the examples of what to look for in things and just different price points, right? So even the less popular ones have been doing well as far as the newer coins, right? Even like Radium, for example, 115% on the 30-day. This is kind of the straggler with the newer ones, though. This one's not doing as well as the others. Hopefully it'll catch on. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? But so far it has been doing well. This is one I have been mining for quite a while, mainly because my FPGAs are all on it and my little rig. Which I'm probably going to put it on something else and just continue to accumulate, though, with like my little molt miner, right? Molt miner, whether I like it or not, it's going to mine this because that's pretty much the only thing profitable that it currently can mine, right? Which even if it can't do anything else, so far the thing already paid itself off between this Radium pump, how much I've mined, and the Caspa pump, right? I did like go back and calculate, and yes, that thing did make its return on investment already. Right, and pretty much more than halfway with even the Osprey. So those two, if we continue like this in another month, they'll both be paid off, right? Which is pretty insane, right? Another one that's been popping off, and this one's not talked about too much, Reum, right? Super small cap. This is one that I'm not necessarily bullish long term, but I'm bullish short term, right? This is another one you could potentially catch early. Again, same thing, even just $100 if you caught it back here, where it was at 3 cents for the longest. It's currently at 12 cents. So this is another one that has done a 4x. Super tiny market cap. So this one has a ton of room to grow. Again, it doesn't have to be super successful for you to have crazy gains on it, right? Even if it gets to the point where it just cracks the top 700. Right? It's still a lot of room to grow, a lot of room to run, right? And that's the benefit with these coins, is that they don't have to do like what Caspa did, which is insane. Like even if they just crack the top 200, insane potential, insane gains, right? So these gains, though, haven't been with all coins, right? It's mainly been, this is even when we talked about when I did that August update, it's specific to the new coins, right? The older coins are not doing anywhere near as well. Right? If we go look at Ergo, they've been pumping though. They've been following the market a little bit, but definitely not on the same level, right? The 30-day on Ergo, about 12.6%. Flux has had a nice little run up actually. They're continuing. They're getting a lot of hype with their proof of useful work, which is the beta is supposed to come out in a couple of weeks. December 15th is supposed to come out. So expect more hype, right? Hopefully this thing does continue to go up. It is one that I do want to lower my position in. I know some of you guys have been swapping. You swapped a little too early. Should have really waited for that update to come out and then potentially dump there because it's probably going to run up a little bit more, right? Now, financial advice is just things I'm looking at. And again, this is why you want to stay up to date on these projects, right? If you're thinking of going in, going out, taking profits, doing whatever, you want to look at the projects themselves, right? Because that gives you better ideas of what to mine, what you're more bullish on, trends you're seeing, and what's happening overall, right? The other one, again, it's Raven coin. This is kind of like my benchmark for all the others just because it's kind of there, right? So again, even if any of these other coins just reach the level of Raven coin, it's insane potential still, right? It's insane to think about that. Again, they don't have to be like the greatest coins ever. Like even if they just crack the top 200, massive gains, massive potential, right? So on the 30-day with Raven, 16.1%, right? So another thing you want to think about though, and other people will go on hashrate.no and they just mine whatever's most profitable. You want to be smart with what you're picking, right? Pretty much you're going to have people who will change like every single day, right? They will look at whatever's most profitable and they'll go from there. Pick your winners, guys. Pick the ones that you feel are good there. My strategy is not to pick the top one, pick one based off of yield, right? Profitability, they're all good. Go a little bit farther down, right? Because the freaking hash rate difficulty just skyrockets, right? Like Nexa, for example, as we look on their chart, back in the beginning of the month, they were about 8 terahash. Most recently now, 17.71 terahash, right? Meaning the yield got cut in half, right? Because it doubled. Okay, so just factor in, and that's going to be the case with all of them. Any of the ones that pump, that's just what happens, right? So again, even here, November 16th, it was at 2 terahash, now 5.67 terahash, right? So a 2.5x, right? So that means your yield is getting cut down that much, right? Which is pretty significant. Again, the time to mine these things is when it's down here, right? When the yield is good, you're getting 2.5 times the amount. This is when you want to be accumulating, mining, buying, whatever. That's the time you want to be stacking though, right? When it's not as popular, right? Even a lithium. Then we're from like in the 70s up to 124, right? So not exactly double. So this one didn't go up as much, but something to consider. This was the funniest one at all of them. Freaking Zeph, right? You go on different dates as down as like 600 mega hash, and then most recently 2.36, right? So like a 4x. And it's just because that insane run up it had, right? So it's just things to consider. So like for me, I was thinking about switching. I'm probably going to switch some of them just because I want to finish my bag of like iron, right? It's almost there. But realistically, because this one hasn't done as well as the others, this one is dropping, right? Meaning the yield is getting better and I'm actually earning more, right? So even though the calculator says I'm earning X amount, realistically, I'm actually earning quite a bit more just because I'm getting a higher amount, right? So like previously, I have it set up to like 1,000 RXD payments. Typically, before this big run up, I was getting about 4,000, a little over 4,000 RXD a day. Most recently with this run up, it went down to 3,000. And now it's right about that point where hopefully you start hitting 4,000 again, right? So at 4,000 RXD, that's about 12 bucks a day, right? Versus last week, I was getting about 9 bucks a day, which is not going to be reflected when you go on hashrate.no, right? Because it doesn't take that into account that quickly. Okay, so just some things to factor in. These are the ones I look at, right? So even though the profitability says it's less, sometimes it can be more because of that, right? Just because of the yield difference. So just something to consider there. So now let's switch up a little bit. Let's talk about some of the recent news. I think one of the biggest things, we're waiting for new hardware, and we did get some announcements. So it looks like January, we're going to be looking January for some new 4000 series cards from NVIDIA. They're going to bring back that Super moniker. So it'll be the 4080 Super, the 4070 Ti Super, and the 4070 Super, right? And this is kind of like what we had talked about in that video, that expect these upgrades to be fairly lazy releases. It's kind of what it is. They're better. Some cases more VRAM, a little bit better, but just nothing like crazy, right? So it's just, we don't have official price points. Rumor mills that it's going to be replacing those existing cards, and it's going to be the same price, right? So time will tell on that front. That's usually something that we're going to have to wait until pretty much right up until they get announced, which it looks like it's going to be around CES, right? So expect early January. They're going to be announced and probably go up for sale that same time frame, right? So coming up pretty soon. Now, the other piece of rumor mill, which is kind of unfortunate, it sounds like a lot of these will coexist with those existing cards. So some of them looks like they are getting replaced. So like the 4080 looks like it is getting replaced in the 4070 Ti. But like the 4070 Super is supposed to coexist with the existing 4070. So don't expect to see any like clearance deals or huge price drops. It's probably just going to remain the same, right? So realistically, as far as hardware prices go, just like we had been talking pretty much the whole year, it's not looking like it's going to happen where in previous cycles where we saw these huge dumps, where we got these crazy insane prices, it's not going to happen this year. Like, again, that's just my opinion. Who knows? But it's just between the scarcity factor, the fact that they're probably just not going to produce that many cards just to keep that hype level up. Like we're seeing it right now with the 4090. Like, yes, the ban and everything is going on, but a lot of it is also they're just not going to produce that many cards because that keeps the hype level up. That's going to keep that price level up, right? AMD isn't really competing on the high end. Intel can't compete on the high end yet. That's going to be the game plan, right? So don't expect to see any significant price drops with those. And then because of all the proof of use for work hype and all the AI hype, don't expect any like 3000 series, any of the more modern cards to go down. If anything, the higher end cards, think like 3090s, anything with like high amounts of VRAM, scarcity factor might be there, right? To borderline and extreme. Those I can see going up the most. We'll talk about that here in a second. We're going to reference a lot of articles. We're not going to read them. We're just going to kind of reference them just so you can kind of get the picture and just know that this isn't just like, I hate it when people just say, oh, I think this is going to happen. Give your sources, give your proof, let us know why, right? Paint the complete picture so we can see the full trend, right? So let's start looking at some things. Let's refresh this. So this is an interesting one. I'll make a comment here about this one as well. So GeForce RTX 4090 taken apart for parts. This is how Chinese companies make AI cards. So essentially what they're doing, they're getting any retail cards they can, any 4090s, they're taking them apart and they are setting them up to be placed in like AI rigs, right? So they're essentially getting any of these retail cards with those thick, super chunky coolers that won't fit in any of these rigs and putting like blower style coolers on them so that you can put them in like servers, you can make those AI rigs. And that's what they're doing, right? This article goes into it in detail, and this is not something that is new, right? This is something we have been seeing, and we've been seeing a lot of it recently, right? So I don't know if any of you guys have been seeing on like eBay, people, if you go on Alibaba is where they started, and now they're starting to leak in the mainstream. But if you go on Alibaba, a lot of us saw them with like the 3060 mobiles, those 3070 mobiles, or even just regular 3070s, right? This is what they've been doing for the longest, right? So like if you go on Alibaba, you'll see weird variants that you haven't seen here, and it's because they're fake, right? Some of them will try to like rebrand them as like MSIs or Zotacs. Just know that if you're seeing them, because I've been seeing them starting to leak on eBay and stuff now, because you can get them on Alibaba. But now they're even starting to leak on eBay, trying to be sold as like name brand cards when they're not. Right? Essentially, they're doing this. They're throwing like a Zotac or MSI sticker. That's why you're seeing a lot of like 3070, like blower style set 3070s that never made it to retail, right? Even if you look on overseas sites looking for like SKUs or numbers, they don't exist because they're fake, right? So they're doing it with that. They're doing it with palette. They're doing it with like MSIs. So be on the lookout, right? So you'll be able to kind of tell. You look at the serial number sticker, looks super generic. You'll look at the branding on it, looks super generic. A lot of times they'll use the same back plates, right? You'll have like Gainword, Palette, Colorful, all these, and they have this same generic back plate. So a lot of them aren't actually from those vendors. They're bootlegs made in these kinds of factories, right? And that's the case with, initially, it was easy to spot because it was like cards that really didn't exist, like the 3060 mobiles, the 3070 mobiles, those were obvious, but they also ventured into like 3070s. There's 3080s, and now there's these 4090s with these blower style fans, right? So keep in mind, if you're looking at hardware, just keep those kinds of things in mind that it may not be real, right? Make sure you're getting ones that are authentic, that are skewed, because the quality is going to be better, right? You're going to have actual quality parts, not just the junk that they're putting on these things, right? With these blower fan motors that may not last as long, crappier quality parts, etc., versus buying these name brand cards, which a lot of you guys, that you know which ones are better, right? Some cases, like some of my cards, they've been running 24/7 for over 3 years and still chugging along, right? You may not have that kind of quality if you're buying this kind of junk, right? So just keep that in mind. It is definitely something to look at, especially if you're buying used or if you're buying from anything. Obviously, if you get a good enough deal, it's worth the risk, right? If you go on like Alibaba, if you are buying any of them, recently they've gone up, but you've been able to buy like the 3070s, the 3070 mobiles as low as like 100, 120 bucks, right? So I've been seeing people selling them on eBay or selling them in like Discords and stuff for like 150, 170. Just keep in mind of what they are, right? So just something to consider there. Let's keep looking. Let's keep looking at some of these articles. So this is an interesting one. This is from Tom's Hardware. 107,000 repurposed crypto mining GPUs up for rent for AI workload. So this is an article just talking about IO.net, which if you have not heard, they did partner up with Render, right? So this is another GPU market, another marketplace that is starting up. Render did partner up with them and things are looking pretty good, right? So you could actually sign up for it now. Like I know there was a wait list for Render for the longest. You can sign up now. There are requirements. So if you are looking into doing that for AI, for high power compute, this is one to look at because you will earn Render for this, right? This is a thing where they're trying to get as many units they can online and you're going to be incentivized for that. It's a whole partnership with Render. It's a legit thing. Look it up if you're interested. It's not one I'm prepared for. I don't have the infrastructure for, so it has no use case for me, but it is definitely something to look at if you're thinking about being in that field, right? But Render is really starting to blow up. We could see with their coin price and just with what's going on, right? They are quickly becoming the leader in the space, right? So there's another article on it. This one's talking about the partnership, Render Network and IO.net to launch AI GPUs suppliers incentive program. So the decentralized cloud service IO.net has announced a partnership with Render to expand AI-focused GPU suppliers. As part of the early suppliers incentive program, the partnership will distribute up to 1.14 million Render, right? So at the time of this article, it's 2.6 million, but Render is what, like at $3.50 now, right? So that has gone up significantly. But again, if you're interested in, this is like an incentive program to get as many GPUs they can on the network, right? So definitely want to look into if you have the infrastructure for that, right? Let's check out another article, and this is just talking about all the marketplaces that will be popping up, right? We mentioned this in some of the other videos I've done as just going to be a big thing, and this is why like Flux really needs to get their crap together, because realistically, they're the ones that we all heard of doing it first. They should have definitely been the leader in the space, and they're kind of getting left behind here, right? So this is another decentralized AI compute platform. This is called Ritual. Closes a $25 million fundraise. This was this month. Here's another one here. Blockchain-based marketplace for compute power. Jensen raises $43 million. So there's a lot of like VC money coming into the space, right? The whole narrative would like follow the whales, right? Whatever you see them doing, this is probably things you should be looking at. And it's going to be big, guys. I know initially it just seemed like it was going to be Flux. It was going to be a smaller thing. It's going to be huge, right? So we knew with NVIDIA, we knew with the cards, it's going to be big. But it looks like these marketplaces are going to be ginormous. We'll see how it plays out, right? Let's keep on going because this is where it gets kind of iffy. So it's going to be ginormous. Maybe not for us plebs though, right? And we'll talk about as to why here. Iris Energy buys 248 NVIDIA GPUs worth $10 million for generative AI and Bitcoin mining, right? So this is a trend that's been going on throughout this whole year, right? This article's from August. We'll go through a couple others. We're not going to read the articles, it's just to kind of reference them. But essentially what's happening, the reason I'm saying it may not be the best thing for us plebs is because these farms are going in big, right? They are making huge investments. They've been making huge investments throughout this entire year. And reason being is that they want this to be like a revenue stream, so for when they get hit hard with the halving coming up, right? So a lot of this has been in preparation. And it's been working, right? We've been following articles throughout this whole year talking about that, and we can see it, right? A lot of them have been making those investments because, again, they have their infrastructure for it. A lot of them have the GPUs for it. Now they're just setting up their own software, their own networks for this process, right? Here's some few more articles. This is from Bit Digital. Bit Digital Inc. launches new AI business, secures customer contract worth up to $257 million. Procures NVIDIA H100 GPUs. So again, this is another miner. This is another one of the big corporate ones. They are also doing it. Here's yet another one. This is Caruso. So gas burner Caruso borrows $200 million to buy NVIDIA GPUs, plans to use them to run AI workloads at oil wells. Right? So here's more investments into that. And it's just like over and over. So like Hive Digital was actually one of the first ones to really mention it, really talk about it early on in the beginning of this year. And same thing, like it's insane, right? So you can see their fleet. So their GPU fleet includes 4,000 NVIDIA A40s, 400 plus NVIDIA A6000s, 12,000 A5000s, 20,000 A4000s. Hive is currently deploying these GPUs in powerful super microservers, which can hold up to 10 NVIDIA A40s or A6000 GPUs each. Insane, right? So these are the guys that are already setting up their infrastructure for it. They are ready for it. They're just waiting for the demand, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, yes, I'm bullish on it. Yes, I'm hoping it does do well. Hopefully there are jobs for us. But for a lot of you guys banking on this thing to happen for, you know, you're running all these all old like RX 580s and all these other things, might want to pump the brakes a little bit on that, right? Hopefully with Flux, you're able to do these smaller jobs. You're able to do something with it. But like as far as being super bullish for us plebs, for us with like 3070s, consumer grade 4090s, I'm not insanely bullish on it just because, again, a lot of these big dogs have been preparing themselves all year long, right? We're kind of like, in a sense, kind of late to the game just because we're waiting for these other systems to be put in place for us to be able to utilize them, right? These guys are setting up their infrastructure, though. They're going to be ready. A lot of them are doing it in preparation for the halving, right? So by the halving, they're going to be 100% ready to go, and they're going to be powering these networks. This is who you're going to be competing with. So keep that in mind there, right? So that's what kind of keeps me bullish on mining, right? So mining, I think, is going to continue to do well. This is going to take off, right? AI, any of these AI coins, AI stocks, NVIDIA stock, it's going to go through the freaking moon. But as far as us providing compute power for these, like for ChatGPT and such, probably not, right? So there are going to be jobs, though. There are going to be things. Hopefully we get more news with Flux when they come out. But they're the ones that are kind of diversifying the most, where it's not just like AI plays. It's, you know, they're going to the healthcare realm, a whole magnitude of different things, right? But just keep in mind, again, look at where the trends are, right? So this is what I'm talking about with staying ahead of things, okay? So this was interesting news that came out also. So AMD enables ROCm and PyTorch on Radeon RX 7900 XTX. So we are excited to offer the AI community new support for machine learning development using PyTorch built on the AMD Radeon RX 7900 XTX and Radeon Pro W7900 GPUs and the ROCm open software platform, right? So even they're getting bullish on using their cards for it, right? Which is kind of interesting because NVIDIA is kind of doing what they can to nerf their cards to not be used for that, right? Versus AMD is kind of being smart about it. This is a good way for them to increase sales and take advantage of what's going on, right? So something interesting there. Although this was on October, what ended up happening a few weeks later, so this is not confirmed, right? This is just speculation from Dell. So Dell reportedly restricts exports of AMD's fastest gaming GPUs to China, right? So they're kind of jumping on that China ban as well. They're kind of jumping the gun, though. We'll reference a specific piece in this article. But don't be surprised if these also get put on that list because of that development, right? It just happened to coincide right after. So this is the part I was talking about. However, our quick check of AMD's consumer GPU specs revealed that they may not require an export license from the US government. So if the document is legitimate, it could result from a misinterpretation of the new export rules. So these aren't fully banned yet. Dell is being kind of proactive, I guess, and they are starting to limit or ban their sales into that region. But don't be surprised if these do get added on there, right? Because again, for any of the AI rigs or any of those things, you want that big VRAM, right? So like that's why with these cards, the 3090s, the 4090s, those are the ones, to me, are the ones that are going to get scarce first, right? Eventually the others will fall down just because, you know, GPU mining and everything will pick up. But what's going to happen first is this big AI craze, right? So hopefully what'll start it off for us plebs is Flux in 20 days. Again, like we mentioned earlier, December 15th. It's supposed to come out, the beta, right? So something to keep our eyes on there. Another interesting trend, and we had talked about this back when we were doing research for that Antminer, the X5, right? We were looking at the different chips, we were looking at different things, and we did discover like a subset of Bitmain, and this is Softgo, who's creating ASIC, not ASIC, but AI chips, right? So it's kind of interesting. Their website is sophon.ai, and these are actually the chips that are in that X5, right? So the RISC-V chips. So they do have a whole subsidiary dedicated to like AI, potential machine learning. Kind of interesting, right? It's like reading into things like, are they going to create like ASICs for AI using these chips? It's something you definitely got to like ask yourself to make you even kind of less bullish on like the LLM aspect, like language learning models and all that stuff, because if they're able to create ASICs or able to create like supercomputers, putting a bunch of these chips specifically for that, that's one less thing for us as plebs to be able to do, right? So don't be surprised if that kind of becomes a trend, because also when we're looking to Canaan, I don't even know how you pronounce it, but the other smaller ASIC manufacturer, probably one of the oldest ones, they are in the same boat. Right, they are also, oh my gosh, also creating AI chips as well, right? In this case, it's RISC-V chips that are for AI. They're AI processors. Not necessarily, you know, big dog stuff, but it may get there. They may have the same idea. They're like maybe dabbing into it, coming up with that concept, because if they're able to create some kind of like a program to be able to use it, an algorithm to be able to use it, don't be surprised to see this happen in the next year or two. But most likely, because if they are able to figure that out, they are able to crack that, it probably won't be any like consumer grade things or things where it's like an ASIC we can purchase, right? This is probably going to be a data center thing, a thing that maybe they keep to themselves, etc., etc. But these are the things that you're competing against if you're thinking you're going to be using your 3070 to power like ChatGPT and stuff, right? Might not be the most realistic thing. But that's something we definitely got to follow. We definitely got to keep our eyes on. Hopefully it does take off, right? Because just the hype alone right now is putting a strain on the GPU market, right? So the one thing that we've been kind of talking about are GPU prices in general have been ticking up, right? This past month they have been ticking up. I've been super interested in buying again, right? Just because at this point, if the prices actually remain in this range, it's going to be to the point where it's not as appealing to buy anymore. It's going to be more appealing to start buying hardware to mine it, right? In the past, again, when it was ranked number 2,500, it was definitely more appealing to just buy a bag for literally $100. You could buy an immense bag, right? But now, if these price points remain, right, they're getting traction, they're in price discovery, they're starting to find their footing. If it remains in this range, I would feel more comfortable starting to buy hardware and starting to mine it, right? As this coin pops off, you're able to pop up to this coin, etc., right? So it's kind of interesting. They have been going up. The ones that have been going up the most, though, are definitely the 3090s, right? This is a trend we saw earlier, and it's remaining, right? They're now $700-800 range, right, on eBay and such. So again, this is one of those things that if I were to find any local deals in like the $500 range, which is probably where they should be at, it's definitely one to pick up or to look at. But at this price point, it's kind of high, but unfortunately it's probably going to get higher, right? If this, you know, thing does pop off, VAST becomes more profitable, Flux Proof of Use Fork becomes more profitable, expect these to be the first ones to really run up. So if you're considering getting cards, these may be some you may want to consider looking at, right? Another example of this is the 4090s recently, and a lot of this is because the China ban, right? It's just, they're freaking sold out everywhere, right? If you go, you can't even find them in stock. They're not on Newegg. They're completely sold out. If you go on Best Buy, the site's not loading, but even on Best Buy, they are completely sold out. They do not have any models, right? They do have some 4080s and such, but as far as 4090s go, they don't have any at all, right? And a lot of it's just because of that ban, and expect it to potentially get worse, right? So we'll see how it goes. I did sell mine last month, sold it freaking way too early. If I would have waited another month, would have been able to get another like 250 bucks. But it is what it is. I did make a nice profit off it because I did buy it back at the beginning of the year for like 1,200 and change. Was able to mine on it for 6 months and then sell it for profit, right? So, but realistically, knowing what we know now, I probably would have hung on to it, right? So, just something to keep in mind there. A lot of interesting stuff going on. A lot of trends we gotta keep our eyes on. Hopefully, once Flux comes out, their proof of useful work, we'll really get a ballpark as to where kind of we stand, right? I think what a lot of us are interested in is that benchmarking tool, just so we can kind of see where we stand. Like, is it better to buy a rig and put, you know, 3 3070s on it, or should I just get one 4090? Like, what is going to have the higher benchmark? What is going to get more potential higher paying jobs? Like, what is the different thing? Like, we're kind of, a lot of you guys who are messing around with like VAST and stuff, you're kind of getting a taste for that, right? You're definitely seeing like the 4090s, the 3090s are kind of the route to go. I'm curious if it's going to be the same here. Just seems like it probably will be. So again, if you're bullish on that trend as far as being able to do it on the retail consumer side, may want to really start looking for deals, right? Because unfortunately, if things do pop off, if the prices stay in this price range where we're at, we don't have the significant dip, then chances are this may be some of the lows for GPU prices, right? Now, with all that being said, am I buying right now? Not yet, right? So for me, it still doesn't make sense when you're comparing it with like ASICs, right? ASICs are still, even with this run up, they're still insanely cheap. Like, I was considering getting some, maybe I'll buy some 3090s if I can get them at 700 bucks. But it's like, do I really want to buy 3 3090s and only make a small amount, or should I just buy a full-blown modern ASIC, right? At that point, again, for like 2,100 bucks, you can buy an S19K, KS1, a whole plethora of things, right? It's just, currently in this current climate, is just so much more appealing if you have the infrastructure for it to buy ASICs, just because the ASICs are still much lower in comparison, right? 6 months from now, when I want to buy more hardware, what's going to make more sense? Most likely GPUs, right? At that point, it's going to be a lot of bullish sentiment going on. A lot of people are going to be wanting to buy those ASICs. Those ASICs are probably going to be quite a bit higher, right? So then at that point, it's, you got to follow the trends. You got to see what makes most sense at the time, right? And you got to make future plans. Like, right, what are you thinking? Like, eventually, I do plan on getting back. I do plan on jumping in. If I find good enough deals, right, I'll definitely jump in, right? So it's hard to tell where we go. I'm constantly looking, though. I'm looking for deals, but I'm just not finding them, right? And more recently, I was hoping maybe we get some good Black Friday deals. The only thing I'm going to consistently look for this week, something you may want to look into, are potential deals, right? People who upgraded, people who did buy some of the more modern cards and then selling their old card, right? So there may be some potential deals, people selling them, people putting them on eBay just because they did upgrade for Black Friday. So something to keep your eyes on, something I'll definitely be looking at. But again, guys, stay ahead of the trend. Look at these things going on, kind of pay attention to them. I'll be doing another update probably in a couple months, probably actually one after Flux does their announcement, right? Just to kind of see if there's any big news happening. We're going to keep our eye on like Render and all these other marketplaces to see how they're doing. Are they getting a lot of adoption? Did a lot of GPUs jump on this little incentive program they're doing? And that's going to kind of give us insight as to where the market's going, right? Because if people get really bullish on Flux, if people get really bullish on Render, what's going to happen, right? There will be a shortage, right? And that's what we definitely want to focus on. We want to look at those trends, and maybe at that point it may make sense, even at the higher prices, to jump in anticipation of that, right? So we got to look at these trends. We got to pay attention just to maximize what we can, right? At the end of the day, you could ignore all this stuff and then jump in whenever, but if you're trying to maximize what you can with the amount of cash you have, these are the type of things you want to look at. Like for me personally, I do these videos because this is what I'm looking at. I don't come up with content and like, oh, what am I going to talk about today? I literally, whatever I'm personally looking at, this is what I'm showing you guys. Literally, all these little tabs you have, that's what I looked at today, right? And I just leave it up and I talk about it, right? And that's kind of the way I look at things, the way I create content. That's why sometimes it's a little bit ranty, it's a little bit different than others, but I like putting out the whole picture, right? Just to get an idea of what's going on. So let me know what you guys are doing, guys. Are you guys buying any right now? Are you guys adding more? Again, I super want to, but I have specific price targets I want to hit. And I'm not hitting them, right? Because if anything, I'll just save up my pennies and potentially buy another ASIC, right? Even though I did just buy that one, but I am targeting to potentially buy one more, or it may be GPUs. Who knows? But let me know in the comments, guys. What are you guys doing? Did you guys pick up any CPUs? Are you guys CPU mining because of the Zeph pump? What are y'all doing, right? Or are you guys buying rigs? Are you guys setting up for proof of useful work? Are you guys getting ready for that? Let me know in the comments, guys. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching, and I am out.